I am so thrilled today to not only be interviewing somebody who's really at the forefront of the right kind of aging, looking at aging almost through a fine-tooth comb, making sure that every little bit of what we do in the years to come really works for us. Her name is Joy Loverde. She is a consultant to our industry. She's a writer. She's the guide for many of us, and particularly for people who are aging by themselves, solo aging. Her latest book, Who Will Take Care of Me When I'm Old? And it is such an incredible issue and an incredible pleasure for me to say hello to you, Joy. How are you today?
I couldn't be better. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, but I think we really need to talk about the essence of the book that's out now and so popular. What brought you, you've written many books, you've seen it all, to focus on the person who might be aging solo? Who is this book really for? Who will take care of me when I'm old?
After 30 years of being on the road, talking about caregiving, something very interesting started to happen about 10 years ago. So after a talk, people would come up to me and they would say to me, I am taking care of my mom and dad and grandma and all that, but who's going to take care of me when I'm old? And I would look at that person and I would instantly realize that our generation, boomers and under, had a totally different aging process than the people that we were caring for. They were child-free. They were childless.
Do you recognize that sound? It's a strike. No, I don't mean a union strike. I mean the kind of strike that you get, not me, when you bowl. And that is a dedication to a book called Bowling Alone by Dr. Robert Putnam. Now, this is a really interesting situation. Many years ago, Dr. Putnam realized that there were no more leagues. Bowling leagues were getting smaller and smaller, less and less. And yet more people were bowling. Yep, they were bowling alone. And he wrote his famous book, Bowling Alone. Today, we're going to be speaking about the solo ager, the person who is aging alone. And we're going to show them how travel and other opportunities can make an enormous difference in their future. Thank you for joining us here on the Ageless Traveler, dedicated to making lifelong travel easy so you never stop traveling. I'm your host, Adrienne Berg, and I'm excited to touch on this topic with the person who's really the leader in this topic, Joy Loverde. So sit back, relax. All the resources we discuss are on our show notes at agelesstraveler.com or Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to us. And while you're on a site like Apple or Spotify, take a look and give us a great reference.
They chose not to get married, divorced, widowed. So everything under the sun was coming at me, and I knew immediately when people started asking me that question that there was a gap in the planning process for aging and growing old. That's what led me to write the book, to fill that gap.
Many people know that I was an elder law attorney. Do not hold the fact that I'm a lawyer against me. But I was for many years. We actually started the whole concept of elder law. So people would have to have wills. They would have to have proxies. And there were people who had nobody to write in those proxies. Nobody. You would say, who do you want to be your healthcare decision maker? They didn't have anyone. And so you're absolutely right. Now, today, solo travel, this is a travel show to help people overcome their barriers to travel. Solo travel, particularly with women, is the fastest growing cohort of travelers in the world. 60 plus women who are single. So you really hit on something here. And now let me ask you the question that your book asks. So who will take care of them when they're old? What are you proposing here?
Everyone will have different resources, Adrienne. Some will have money, some will not. Some will be rich in resources of socializing, and others will not. The answer to who will take care of me when I'm old is me right now in my planning process, going forward and figuring out what is missing in my planning and go from there. Everybody ages differently. So the answer to that question, you're familiar with this answer as a lawyer. It depends.
Yes. So let's go to that. It depends. Because what you are doing here in your book, which you can get on Amazon, by the way, and you know that Joy, as I mentioned, is really also a B2B person. She is the consultant to so many of the groups that have to do and companies that have to do with aging that are affecting you right now, that are affecting you guys listening right now. But for this book is written for you. Who Will Take Care of Me When I'm Old? You can find that on Amazon. All right. So let's talk about the solo person who is ready. I'm going to talk about two people. First, the solo person who is ready to take charge of their own aging and answer their question, as you say. You know, I believe that going on trips, meeting people, creating a bigger circle of friends and support groups is one of the answers, just one for those who love to travel. But your book focuses on so many things. Give us two or three things if we are ready to take responsibility for our own care that we could be doing, that mindset.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is relationships. We become more embedded in a relationship as we grow older in a different way than when we're younger, because there's more at stake. So we talk about socializing, talking about travel, and doing all the wonderful things in life that old age, and longevity brings to us. But having relationships as we age, so for those who are ready to take a look at their aging from that point of view, have to understand that there's a certain amount of responsibility that comes with the quality of friendships that we so desire. We can't just look at the people around us as family goes by the wayside and not initiate a conversation at the very least about, hey, what should we do together as a team here that may have to do with taking care of each other on one level or another?
So this is an incredible possibility that you're posing. You know, one of the things, shameless plug, we have a Facebook salon. We call it a Facebook salon, where people can go on, it's all free, and meet each other and even travel together. And in the Facebook salon, to get on, you answer one question. Why do you want to be on this salon? Joy, almost every single person has said to meet other people to travel with because we don't have someone to travel with. So that's the extent to which people are solo these days. So now you're posing something that's kind of tough. That is, as you make new friends or talk, let's say, candidly with your old friends, you should say, can we create a consortium? Can we agree to help each other? Now, I've met some new friends here, and I don't know if I'd have the guts. Now, luckily, I've got kids, I've got a husband, so on. I think I've got a support system. But if I were by myself, I have to wonder, how would I speak to my new friend Sherry and say, would you take care of me and I'll take care of you?
Well,
a tough conversation. Help us through
that. I wouldn't use those words, care, because you and I both know that care, the need for care is not a given in old age. So I want to throw the medical model out the window at some point. My mother is a case in point. She never needed a day of care in her life. She was 92, cooking dinner for us till the day she died, and she just died in her sleep. So when we say the word care, when we're in a conversation with someone, we immediately think nursing homes, assisted living, not being able to function, and so on. And I have the exact opposite in my life with role models for people who are old, very old, at least 20, 30 years older than me, who don't take medications, who travel extensively, who are driving, who are working. And so if I were to approach a friend, I would say to him or her, we're getting old together, and there may come a time where you might need something from me and I might need something from you. Are you willing to let me call you at 2:00 in the morning, even if it's to change a light bulb? I want these conversations to just begin on some level. Let's just talk about changing light bulbs in the beginning in order for us to begin to see a commitment. Otherwise, we are being friends in the dark.
That's a wonderful, wonderful phrase, friends in the dark. You heard
Mhm.
it from Joy Loverde. You'll hear a lot of wisdom from her. We're going to be telling you a little bit about our salon in a minute, and we'll be back. So don't you go anywhere, because my next step is I want to focus, Joy, on the other psychographic, the person who is not ready to have that conversation, does not want to face the fact that somebody may or may not be taking care of them when they're older, and how your book helps and supports them. Don't you guys go anywhere. Have you considered traveling to a place of incomparable beauty, great adventure, and spirituality? If so, did you think of Iceland? I didn't think you did, but I did. And we're traveling in October 2024 on a quest to see the magical Northern Lights. Colette Tours, a leader in small group trips, arranged everything for us, including a 3-night expedition to see the lights. The flight is only about 4.5 hours from New York City. And you can even add on Greenland if you're like me. We'll go together. All the information is at the Ageless Traveler website, agelesstraveler.com, featured trips. And of course, there's always discounts. agelesstraveler.com, featured trips. Never stop traveling. And now we are back. We've been talking about who will take care of me when I'm old. We're going to go back to that in just a second. But if you are a caregiver, if you're ready to plan for your own care, the Complete Elder Care Planner it's like a staple in the industry. We'll say it's like saying the Encyclopedia Britannica. We all know what it is. Well, in our world, we all know the Complete Elder Care Planner by Joy Loverde. You'll find that also on Amazon. And you're hearing a rare conversation, because Joy is really a consultant to the industry and every aspect of aging. She's a speaker all over the world. So you don't always, except through her books, get to hear her personally. And now it's such a pleasure for me to have her here now. So we just talked about broaching a conversation. You taught us how to do that when we're ready. But what about the person who picks up your book because they're afraid, they're internally afraid that they'll be alone, no one will take care of them, but they're really not ready to expose that issue? Tell us some of the support that could be around them that they may want to look into.
One approach that I use constantly, because I think most people are in that camp. I don't want to talk about it. Let's be like, there's even a book, let's talk about something more pleasant, right?
Yep.
So what I do then at that point is I use an approach called I'll go first. And one of the safest ways to initiate conversations about the future unknown is to create an emergency contact list and hand it to a person that I am very close to and say, hey, just in case something happens to me, here's the phone number of my children and my doctor, and this is my hospital. And I want you to have it so you will have peace of mind. And by the way, do you think you could do the same for me so I can have peace of mind?
Now that's fascinating. So it's kind of clinical. It's a little bit, it's like a business transaction. Here's my list.
Yeah.
Give me your list, but it doesn't have the emotionality to it that we would talk about.
Exactly. And it's said over dinner, over wine, and having a good time. And there's no crisis raining down on anyone. And it is a very, very thoughtful thing to do for someone else.
I was in Vietnam in August, and I am very interested in Asian travel, because Singapore particularly is considered one of the most age-friendly countries, and you'd be surprised what innovation. So I want to tell you about something in Vietnam and get your reaction for us here. They are a very under-resourced nation. They're coming up in the world developmentally, but they still are on what we would consider poverty level for most older adults. So they put together a program where older adults take care of other older adults. And they're from the community, so it's a very community-oriented country to begin with. And they take care of each other, just what you say. It's like a living book that you have written. They take care of each other when they're old. And mostly they don't have anyone else, because their kids have moved to the city and they may have outlived a spouse or not married. And it works. It works because there's a responsibility feeling among older adults to each other. I don't think we have that. Yeah, I think we have a point of pride of not being dependent. And not, what are our institutions that you're seeing, and will they be changing?
We have to wake people up to the fact that the American culture is far different than other cultures where it is very natural to that close in terms of, and it's an assumption, of course I'm going to be here. I've traveled extensively to Thailand where my brother lives many times. They live with the village concept. It's understood that we take care of each other. But this is just where we live. We don't live in that culture. Therefore, we have to create little Asian cultures within our relationships. And it does feel weird for many people because they're not used to it. It is something that we have to kind of tiptoe into if for those of us who are used to it, and we introduce it to someone in our inner circle. I'm Italian with Italian citizenship, and people who are in my circle by now know that it's understood that we have a closeness here that usually doesn't exist outside of my inner circle.
I said to everybody a few minutes ago, they wouldn't know you, but you know what? Because you're such a B2B. But that's not true, because Joy has been on the Today Show, Good Morning America, CBS Early Show, CNN Headline News. I can go on and on, take the whole show with her resume. So you may very well know who she is. And I want you to know that in addition to all of this, the thoughtfulness and innovation thinking that Joy has really led the industry. So I want to go to that right now in the context of what you just said, that we create our own little villages. Mm-hmm. So here in this United States, we have something called the villages. And I don't mean the big group in Florida, but they're all over the country where people band together to change the light bulb together. Right. And it's called the villages. I'm very interested in your opinion of how they're doing and if they're working. And then I want to discuss travel and creating a village through travel in a moment. So this is a method to my madness here. First, explain the villages to everybody who doesn't know what the villages are and what you think of them. Because I know you'll tell the truth about what you really think.
I always tell the truth. Village concept is a membership. And there are chapters all over the United States. So if you are aging in your own home, in a single dwelling or an apartment building, it doesn't matter what the structure is. If there is a village chapter near you, you could become a member and then have access to their resources, which have been vetted by other members. And they are a highly social organization, so that they're always partying. There's always a party. So it's very social. What do I think about it? I know for a fact, for being in this business for over 35 years, that aging in your own single dwelling by yourself, aging alone, has a shelf life. So it'll take you so far until factors begin to set in that make aging in place absolutely impossible.
So it is an interim, and let's say this. For many of us, it will last longer than it did before because we do have a certain amount of longevity that's increasing in a part of our population. We're not really the top. I was mentioning today, I'm going to Cannes for a conference in September for my 76th birthday. And I was telling the organizer that we're number 60 or 63 in the world, in the United States, for healthy longevity, which isn't that great, by the way. We could do a lot better. But in some demographics here, mostly people who are a little bit more educated and wealthier, we stay at home longer. We have independence longer. But as you say, it does have that shelf life. So I have been looking at travel, I mentioned this, as a catalyst to creating that village, because people meet people from all over the world when they travel, and they say, gee, I really like these people. I would love them to be close friends of mine, except they live 1,000 miles away. And we're going to be in touch. And they give them their email address, and they never talk to them again. And, the glow is over, and they get back to their own lives. So I'm working with people independently and also with the industry to look at the technologies available to keep people together. So I want to throw that at you. Again, in your book, Who Will Take Care of Me When I'm Old, and in the planner too, in the planning book, I'm going to get the exact title, The Complete Elder Care Planner. And in your consulting, you consult with the age tech companies.
It really does help keep people together. We would have all gone absolutely berserk during COVID if we didn't have technology. And
now, FaceTime is great. Are you finding
yes.
that more and more people are able to use it? Because they
Well,
always make fun of us that we're illiterate, digital idiots or whatever.
They just know. You know what helped the older population was telemedicine. That was the best thing that got them used to sitting in front of a computer and having some segment of your life be real in virtual reality. So that helped. That was a real good thing. But I'm saying that when you were mentioning people travel, they meet some fabulous people, and then they go back to their real life. Well, you mentioned a critical need for all of us to be aware of, and that is the onus is on us to continue those relationships. And I can tell you from my personal experience that people that I have met from all over the world throughout my travel life, I am in touch with through technology. Now, if I didn't feel like it, it wouldn't happen. But it's important to me. So the question is it important to you to stay in touch with these people, or is it too much trouble? And if you go down one path or another, there's no right or wrong reason for choosing one or the other. But I will tell you, I have an extremely rich life. And I don't mean wealthy wise, I mean people wise. Because I am talking to people all over the world all the time because I want to.
People have asked me, because I've been in the field of aging so long, why travel? Why is that my gift to myself to be able to do a show like this? And the answer started having nothing to do with travel, but with a Yale study that said that if you have at least 6 close friends, you increase your longevity by 2 years. Now, if you have 12, it doesn't mean 4 years. It's apparently 6 years. 6 is the thing, 2 years. I want those 2 years. But the word close is the issue. And it's only the close ones that will take care of you, when you're old. And I always saw travel as a way of getting close very fast. You get close it's like a petri dish. You're together and you're brewing. And then it disappears. So that's why I've thought of this as a way to really catalyze travel, particularly for solo people. Now, when we come back, I want to pick up on something you said, which was kind of devastating, but that's you. You said, oh, you know what? Aging in your own home has a shelf life. So I want to talk when we come back a little bit about some choices that you do mention in your book and in your speaking. When you have decided that it had the shelf life, it's over. You do want to make a different kind of move. Are we going to be talking about assisted living? What are we talking about? Don't you guys go anywhere. I've traveled to over 110 countries and I'm still counting. And this can be a luxurious adventure, but it can also be a very expensive proposition. So I always try to get the best rates on hotels, and I follow these steps very carefully. First, I compare prices on aggregators like Trivago or Get the Best Rate Guarantee. Once I have gotten the best rate through these 2 sites, I check them out on things like Booking.com and Hotels.com and see the dates I want, and I get the travel perks. But I do have one last hack. Before I press that button on a site like Booking.com or Hotels.com, I explore Virtuoso. They have added perks and rewards, and I want to see if they mean more to me than the reduced price. And then I make my decision. Now, if you have questions about Ageless Traveler trips and its discounts, please visit our fan page and record your questions. And of course, go ahead and look at the trips that we offer under featured trips. AgelessTraveler.com. You'll always get the best deal. Okay, now we are back. We're back, and we're back with Joy Loverde. By now, you know the name of her book. You'll know it in your sleep. who will take care of me when I'm old. But that's a very good issue here. For those of you just tuning in, we were discussing the importance of having a reality factor and thinking no matter how much support I have, there may be a time, although both my mother and Joy's mother did not go into assisted living, never did spend any time there up until their demise at age 92 in both cases. But what if that is the case and you are alone? Now, we know particularly all the issues when you have children and spouses and siblings and family around you, and sometimes it makes it easier, sometimes harder to move out of the home. But what if you are by yourself? What are you telling people to do, Joy?
To be real, first of all, about what it means to age in place alone. That's different than if you have someone with you. So let's just talk about that and why it has a shelf life and what our options are. But to be alone means that we will be in charge of managing people who are going to be coming into the home and providing different products and services. Well, what if that is very difficult to manage at some point down the road? Like, how do we do that? How do we feel safe and manage strangers? That's one. The other thing is, and this is the only reason why we don't have to worry about aging in place as it has a shelf life. If we are fit and we eat right and we exercise and we never experience any kind of health event, which, by the way, that I mentioned earlier, I know plenty of old people who are aging in place alone because they're healthy mentally and physically. So what are the odds of that? Well, if the odds are good, that's great. But the moment we begin to experience that there are changes occurring, again, being responsible for where could I go from here is the best thing to consider in the planning process. Now, I mentioned earlier, I'm Italian. What does that mean? It means we're usually with many other people.
Yes, you've got family. You got family. You got people.
No, we have people,
yes.
because if we outlive people, we still have people.
People, right.
And so I cannot imagine. I know how to develop these kinds of relationships, and it's most of my working responsibility is to be the role model for people to create this kind of environment. But Adrienne, it doesn't matter. A lot of people think they like to be alone.
Yes,
well,
yes.
That's the problem at some point. And many of them I talk to say, not only do I want to be alone, I love it. And I don't care if I conk out one day. Somebody will find me eventually.
You know, that reminds me of the times when I was just doing wills when I was a lawyer. And people would not want to make a will. And they would say, well, just shoot me. And the wife would usually look at the husband and say, can we do that? But that was the feeling was, I'd rather not deal with it. And I think what you're saying, yeah, deal with it. So I'm going to bring this back and conclude this little section with a radical idea that I have been looking at. Now, again, this is the Ageless Traveler. We're looking at travel, and it's called Lifelong Travel Made Easy. So one of the things I've discovered from my listeners is they want to get a second home. And remember, we're talking still about very robust people, like the people you were speaking about, good health, have a little money, education, so on. And they want a second home. And they're always thinking of this Florida or Palm Beach or whatever it is, Palm Springs, where I live. And I'm looking at Europe. I'm looking at Asia. I'm looking at places that do have villages, that have built-in villages. I'm looking a lot at Italy, the Borghi, which is small villages are all over Italy that have been designated, and they're fairly age-friendly. Some of their accommodations aren't, but in terms of the culture, very, very age-friendly. To see realistically whether over the next 10 years or 15 years, it's possible for a U.S. person who has had a second, maybe vacation home there, to age in place there because of the village concept. Now, it's pretty radical. Nobody I know thinks about getting old out of the country. But it is not an impossible thing for a solo person who's found themselves. I'll give you one example, and I want to throw this to you. And that is Mexico and San Miguel Allende, which started many years ago in the 1960s as a place to retire for Americans. And there's now a Mexican-American Retirement Association, which I have discovered are all U.S. people who have honestly created a village in the same cultural sense that we talk about when we talk about Asia or Thailand or Vietnam. A real village. Now, it is possible. It just may not be possible right here. So I'm going to finish this little segment by asking you about assisted living communities, because you are, again, a consultant and you speaker. Are they trending toward this friendship model, or are they still in the medical model, what you call the medical model?
I think by now in my career, I've traveled to see maybe close to 500 assisted living communities. Let's say it's just a big number. And I will tell you, I have found only one that I would move into. Why? Because they are maybe understaffed. Maybe they are successful and don't need to change. Maybe they are more a medical model than a social model.
Yep.
Only one. And by the way, it's run by an Italian.
Okay.
And it's here in the United States. You have to do your homework. Now, most people think assisted living is a medical model where you get medical care, but it's not. It is a safe place to live because it attends to the daily activities of living. And this is why long-term care insurance comes in, because you have to have a special insurance for not being sick.
That.
Yeah, when you're in assisted living,
it's not a diagnosis. It's not a diagnosis.
Exactly. You just need some help, right?
Right.
So if you need help and these places don't know how to help you the way that family and travel outfitters would help you, then, you were always going to be shortchanged. Go to Thailand, go to Italy, and you won't see assisted living. You will see assisted living in a village, but you won't see a building that's Joe's assisted living. It doesn't exist.
That is correct. So that is very sobering. Well, you just said, let's face it, it's extremely sobering. And it may actually be more sobering for the family than it is for the individual living solo, because that's where your the complete elder care planner comes in. So when we come back, we are sadly going to be at our last segment of this. I do want to emphasize the caregiver a little bit. We've talked about the solo individual that you've written for, but you've spent decades on caregiver support and how that could work. And I am very, very anxious for this series to work for caregivers to support them in being able to travel. So don't you guys go anywhere, particularly if you're a caregiver for a spouse, an older parent, or a friend. And not necessarily older than you. A lot of older people are taking care of younger people. We'll be right back. We're going to Iceland. Yes, we are, with the incredible leadership of Colette Tours. And this is going to be October 2024. Please come with us. And if you're a real adventurer like me, we are going to add on Greenland for you. Now, I love spas. I've often visited Iceland's top mineral and hot springs, and I'm thrilled to collaborate with Colette on this tour. It's a quest to see the magical northern lights and luxuriate in one of the iconic springs of the world, the Blue Lagoon. Now, there's volcanic beaches, crater viewing glaciers, geothermal pools. For all the details, go to agelesstraveler.com, featured trips, you get discounts, and of course, we will be together. That is so important. And I'll speak with you on perks and further discounts if you're groups of 10, or you come from a nonprofit organization. You want to get some donations through traveling with the Ageless Traveler. Never stop traveling. Okay, well, we have come to our last segment here, and we're turning our attention to something that is very much on my mind, and that is caregiver travel. In fact, this particular show, along with Star Bradbury's show and Dr. Carol Sargent's show, will be made into an ebook so that you can see some of the support and some of the actual URLs and websites you might be looking at that we don't have time to discuss on the show itself. Part of that is caregiver travel. There are so many people who have absolutely waited for retirement to travel. And they retire, and their spouse, or very often their parents, need so much care and monitoring one way or another that they postpone travel, sometimes so long that they never do get to travel. So we're working on caregiver support so that you can get respite care for yourself, a beautiful trip, and not have a worry. Go peacefully to your trip, not being concerned, and being very connected with your loved one who might be at home with a caregiver or might be in assisted living. So let's turn to that. Let's talk, Joy, about the caregiver mindset, not the person. Are you seeing any difference in the way people are approaching care, giving as a family, or are they still getting sicker than the person they're caring for?
Yeah, no, I'm not seeing a shift in a healthier attitude. I'm seeing overstressed, incredibly wonderful adult children and spouses take care of each other to death. And I'm seeing more stress than ever. And so your service that gives them a much needed break is, I can't even say enough how needed it is. I'm just wondering how much convincing they need to understand that they're not doing anybody any good if they don't take care of themselves in a way that you could if through your programs.
I think it's stories. And we're gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna throw this to you. Because you've written so many books, you've spoken to so many people, I know that when you're finished speaking, let's say on a stage, people come up to you afterwards and they all want to tell you their story, and then you can't get out of it. I've seen that.
It's okay. It's okay.
But I think we want to stop at an inspirational story. For you, what have you seen of someone else? Because we're going to go very soon to a YouTube with Joy, where she'll be talking a little bit more personally about her own aging, and I'll do the same. But somebody else's story that really inspired you, whether they were alone and working things out right, or whether they were a caregiver and working things out right.
Just recently, I was away giving a talk at one of the senior living communities in Dallas, Texas, and a young couple came up to me, and they said that they had recently changed their mindset about how they manage their caregiving of their mother. And they told me some very funny stories about how they decided the way to do caregiving was through humor. And they told me a few things that they do that was just, we were all laughing because of how going in the opposite direction of humor didn't help and made everybody miserable. And then how playing the humor card whenever they could and just laughing at themselves and being together and watching funny shows, singing together, doing anything that brought humor and joy and love together in 1 hour or 2 made all the difference in the world. And to your point, Adrienne, I can't stop thinking about how when we have a good night's sleep and when we are at peace, knowing that we're doing the best that we can, we come into this caregiving environment in a whole new way. And that just doesn't get any better than that.
Well, that is so wonderful. It's a beautiful way to end. And I will tell you that we have one humor product on our agelesstraveler.com website, and that is Wowzitude. It's a way for every week you can sit and see a live guide take you live through a part of the world with your loved one, and you can be in two different places and watch it together, or you could be in the same place and watch it together, and even ask questions, live questions of the guide as if you were walking with them. So that's a real fun thing to do. It's called
Yes.
Wowza.
I love the name.
Yeah, that's a name. It's a funny name too. But very important. What Joy has been doing for many years is turning the whole concept on its head. And that's what bringing humor into the issue of caregiving or growing older is part of what it's all about. So thank you so much for being with us. And you guys, we are not done. Don't forget to go to our YouTube channel and you will meet Joy in. We've come to the end of our discussion, and thank you for listening. Don't forget to see the show notes on agelesstraveler.com for the resources that we mentioned on the show. Click the button, join our salon, and become part of us, because salon members can ask any of our experts any question that they would like. You'll even see on our podcast page how you can leave a voicemail or a text for Joy or anybody else that's one of our guests or myself. And don't forget to visit Ageless Traveler YouTube channel. Meet Joy personally. This is Adrienne Berg for the Ageless Traveler, here to ensure that you never stop traveling.